Hello, my friends, and welcome to week one of the 100K challenge, the journey to $1 million of revenue or even more. This video series will detail for you exactly what you need to be doing every single week to add $100,000 of personal income in the next year. Everything you'll see in this video and in all the future videos are based on my own experience building a $2 million a year practice. I lean heavily on my good friend Michael Kitces, who built with his family a $7 million a year practice. This is also taken from the hundreds of advisors I've coached, many of which have passed $1 million. Also lessons from the advisors who never made it to that level, right? So I get to see both sides of the extreme. And so I'm going to create these for you every single week. Fair warning, this is going to be a lot of work, which is the cost of success, right? Like if you want to be a top level advisor, you have to create top level results. And the only way to get there is by putting in the reps. And so I'm just going to lay it all out for you every single week so that you have exactly what you need to do to get to this level, to my level, to Micah's level, and beyond. So this week, we're going to focus on 5 key areas, and we're going to have a bonus for the advisors at the end who really want to crank it out. The advisors who are like, man, I don't want to wait a year. I want to get this thing done as quickly as possible. So we're going to focus on Parkinson's Law, your personal development, sometimes called professional development, the words that you use, the message that you're delivering, and delivering massive value to clients. Now, these could mean, I guess, whatever they could mean. Again, in these videos, I'm going to be very, very specific on what you need to do because I don't want there to be any question like, well, what do you mean Parkinson's Law? Like, what exactly do I do this week? So let's jump into it. For focus area number 1, you are going to physically print out a calendar that looks like this. This is something I've done, my friends. I still do it to this day. I have done for years. Every single week, I physically print out a calendar and I handwrite in both my appointments for the week, my time blocks, my tasks, my priorities, my wins, my losses when there are some. I try not to write losses down. They're not any fun. And I do this every week. Couple of reasons. One, it keeps me from going into my email program, right? Like once I open Outlook or Google Calendar, it's really easy to go into the chat or something else and get distracted. I get easily distracted. The other is it just helps me focus my mind. Now, this is something I want to do every Friday before I leave the office for the following week. My mind is always clearest when I'm thinking about what next week me needs to do versus what me right now, right? Have you ever sat down and you can think about what you should do tomorrow? You can't think for the life of you what you should do today. That's why we do this. We're also, as you're detailing this out, and I've typed this in for this week, which I will do every week, but you're going to want to handwrite this. We're going to want to schedule multiple 2-hour blocks for getting projects done. On this particular week, we have record intro scripts, which I'll talk about. We have getting our client contacts. We have a reminder for next week's calendar. We have our book reading, and then we have some action items of things that we need to remember to get done sometime during this week. Now, when you're filling out your week in advance, any blank spots in your calendar are time that you're wasting. It is 100% plain office time. Now, if you want to have a time block for respond to emails, return client calls, you need that. That's a great idea. Team meetings, study, whatever the case may be. If you have a blank in your calendar, that is time you are wasting. I promise you, are wasting that time. And how can I make that promise to you? Well, here's the thing. If you want to make $1 million a year or $500,000 a year, you have to, let's say $500,000 a year. That's 5 times the income of the average advisor. That means you need to be doing 5 times as much in a week as the average advisor gets done in that same week. The way that you will get that done is through time blocking. We'll talk about surge meetings and other videos as that time of the year comes around. You have to time block and you have to have these 2-hour blocks in your calendar or you will never get to the level of productivity to get to 250K, 500K, $1 million, whatever you're aiming for. So here's how this looks. Here's your action items. And again, I'm going to give this to you for every area, and we're going to have these every single week. So print off the physical calendar. I've got a link below. You can download the physical calendar that I use. Every Friday, have time on your calendar to fill out, have an alarm on your phone, whatever, fill out next week's calendar with no blank spots, making sure that you have a 2-hour block on each day, ideally, for projects. Now, when you're in Surge Week, that's going to be a little bit different because your blocks are going to be client meetings. But every other week, including holiday weeks, you're going to have this blocked out. You're going to want to, on that right-hand side, there's a spot to track tasks and wins. Not every week you're going to need wins, but you're going to have those weeks where you screw something up or a prospect says no or a client reads you the right act, and you're going to want to go back and say, all right, I'm getting a lot of really good things done. And then each week when you fill out this calendar, take a picture of it. And then at the end of the week, when you're doing next week's, take a picture of it as well so we can kind of see a before and after. This is also what we're going to use to diagnose if you're not seeing the progress that you want. The calendar is the first place we're going to go to see what's going wrong. All right, focus area number 2. professional development or personal development. These are synonymous terms. We don't have anything that we don't have a machine in financial planning. Like we don't sell widgets. We don't sell books, right? Like if we were selling books as an example, we could just say, listen, we need to print books faster. Like how do we print faster books or how do we print better books? There is no machine in a financial planning practice except for us. You are the machine. I am the machine. And so the only way to get better results out of this machine is to improve the machine. And personal development is one of the ways that we can do it. For the next 2 weeks, our focus is going to be the book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. If you've not read this before, it will change your life. If you've read it before, read it again. In this book, Viktor Frankl details some of the lessons he learned surviving the Holocaust. Now, hopefully, none of us will ever find ourselves in that situation. And the book talks nothing about financial planning or about prospecting or practice management, but it talks about hard times. Very often as advisors, we find ourselves in what we consider to be hard times, like prospects aren't calling us back, or that client wasn't impressed with our recommendation, or we went to a networking event and nobody wanted to talk to us. Like these feel in our mind like really hard things because we don't have perspective on what really hard things are. And so Viktor Frankl's book will let you know what really hard things are. So when you're faced with something that seems hard, you can say to yourself, hey, self, this ain't nothing. This ain't nothing. There's hard things in the world, and this is not one of those things. Buy Viktor Frankl's book. You can get on Amazon. If you're not into reading, which is fine, not everyone is. Some of my most financially successful friends do not enjoy reading at all. I love to read. I read at least a book a week, sometimes 2 books a week. If you don't enjoy reading, download it on Audible, listen to it like a podcast, whatever the case may be, but you need to be consuming this kind of content. To get it done in 2 weeks, you're going to need to do about 10 to 15 pages a day. So block out time on your calendar. You'll notice on that printed calendar, I had time in the morning and I had time over lunch. I, for example, can't read in the afternoon or evening. I immediately fall asleep. Like if I pick up a book after like 2 or 3 p.m., I'm going to fall asleep instantly. So find a time on your calendar to do that. Again, if you like to listen to it, do it while you're working out, whatever the case may be. On your calendar, physically write down the top 3 lessons or stories, just a couple of bullet points from that, things that really stood out for you. And of course, number 4, as you go through Viktor Frankl's book, stop complaining. There ain't nothing hard in our lives on a relative basis. Okay, focus number 3. Your words will make you rich. So I mentioned earlier that there is no machine in a financial advisory practice except for us. We are the machine. And the best advisors, the most successful advisors are always the best communicators. Without fail. I never talk to an advisor and hear how they communicate, and I'm surprised by their income, high or low. It's always very apparent to me when I'm talking to a multi-million-dollar advisor. It's very apparent to me that I'm talking to a $50,000 a year advisor because of how they communicate. The better communicators are always delivering more value, and they're always, as a result, making more money. This week, we're going to focus on the first 3 to 5 minutes of your prospect meeting and your client meeting. This needs to be perfectly rehearsed because it sets the tone for the entire meeting. If you walk into the meeting, you're like, well, hey, what do you want to talk about today? That's the tone for the meeting. But if I walk in and I'm excited and I'm curious and I set the stage, that is now the stage for the entire meeting. So I've shared 2 abbreviated versions of my client meeting and my prospect meeting start. I've done entire videos on these. We have entire training programs around this. But here's mine. So when I sit down with a client, that's my top script here, Mr. and Mrs. Client, Bob and Sue. I always use people's name, Bob and Sue. I have several items on my list for us today, including an item that you sent over. And thank you so much for doing that. It makes it a lot easier for me to prepare. But before we start on that list, please tell me what questions or concerns are on your mind. And then Bob and Sue respond with whatever they respond. And I say, that's great. That's great. What else is on your mind? What else you really want to make sure that we cover or any concerns? What else is kind of on your mind? And they say whatever they say. And I said, cool. Anything else? I just want to make sure we have everything out on the table before we get started. Now, that's not 3 to 5 minutes. So you need to have more than just that. But for the sake of this video, I'm keeping it brief. That sets the tone for the meeting. I've perfected the script over years and years and years. And almost every top advisor I talk to has some version of this they use to kick off that prospect meeting. For client meeting. For prospect meetings, once we sit down, this is assuming an in-office. It works the same though in Zoom. You just have to adjust the words. I say, hey, Bob and Sue, before we get started, would you please notice that there is no lock here on the conference room door? Yeah, of course, there's no lock. It's a conference room door, right? The reason I want to mention that, Bob and Sue, is this is not a timeshare presentation. In fact, I have nothing to sell you today, and there are no forms to sign. And why is that? Because, Bob and Sue, before you hire me or really anyone else, I want to make sure you understand exactly what it is we can do for you, exactly what it is we charge. And, is that way before you trust us with $1 of your nest egg or pay us a penny in fees, you can make an educated and informed decision about our firm. And great news, you can use this same process to evaluate any other firm that you are considering. And so at the end of this meeting, I'm simply going to ask you if you want us to create for you a one-page financial plan. And at that point, if you say, yes, that would be great, I'll explain how that process works. If you say, you know what, Matthew, it's nice to meet you, but I think we're okay, then I'll shake your hand and we'll part ways as friends. Does that sound okay to you? Now, I want to practice this again and again and again until it comes off incredibly smooth. So you need to write out or at least bullet point the first 3 to 5 minutes of your client meeting and your prospect meeting. You need to practice this week, each one 10 times out loud. So you're going to sit like I just did. You're going to say it out loud 10 times. Ideally, you're going to do it differently each time. Like notice the pauses that I put in. How do I be more curious when I'm asking these questions? What concerns do I have? Like, how do I empathize with being on their side of the table versus my side of the table? Should I say it faster? Should I say it slower? Should I say it loud? Or should I say it quiet? Like try all these different ways, right? After you've done it 10 times each, set your iPhone on the table, set it on a stack of books, record yourself doing it 10 times for each, and then have someone else look at it, right? If you really want to improve, have someone else look at it. I know this is painful. I know that you don't sound as good on the recording as you do in real life or look as good. I notice that the bags under my eyes and the reflection on my head and all this kind of stuff. That's okay. It's really a matter of, do I want to get better? If yes, then I have to do these uncomfortable things. Okay. Focus area number 4, the messenger is the message. So just like your words are critically important, before your words come out, whatever you're wearing or however you look sends a message as well. Now, people love to argue with me on this. They're always broke, the people who argue with me on this. But the message sends, how you look sends a message. And let's use a quick example. Like imagine you get on the airplane to go fly somewhere and the pilot comes on board and he or she is wearing board shorts and flip-flops and has long, shaggy hair and has some face tattoos and nose piercings and whatever the case may be. And it's like, hey, dude, I hope you guys are okay. Like, we're going to do this thing today. Does that make him or her a better or worse pilot? No, absolutely not. It has no impact on their skill. Does it make you more or less comfortable as a passenger? That definitely makes you less comfortable. Now, let's go to the alternative. Pilot comes on, dressed like a pilot, has the pilot's uniform, the pilot's hat's on, is groomed accordingly, dressed professionally. It says, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard flight, blah, 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 blah. Does that make him or her a better pilot? Nope, absolutely not. Does not change the skill set at all. Does it give me more comfort as a passenger? Yes, it does. We are dealing with human beings, not with spreadsheets. Yes, spreadsheets are involved. The spreadsheets aren't making a decision. How you look sends a message every single time. It also sends a message to you. Even if I'm working at my home office and I don't have any meetings for the day and I'm just heads down working, I'm still going to dress for success because it sends a message for me as well. If I sit down here in sweatpants and a raggedy t-shirt, that sends my brain a casual message. I need a professional message. Will wearing nice clothes make you the perfect advisor? No, but why would I not take this advantage? Like, why would I not take this easy win? If it improves my close rate by one client in my career, right? An ideal client's what, $10,000 a year, $20,000 a year in fee. Over 10 years, that's $100,000. If it improves the perception of one person, then I've won. So me personally, because I want to make this really actionable, I get my dress shirts from Nordstrom's. You can get it from Macy's or whatever you have nearby. I always get wrinkle-free shirts. I like the ones that have a little bit of texture in them because they don't wrinkle as bad. I always have the person at the store help me find one that fits. I try it on. I make sure the neck fits, that it's not too tight or too loose, that the sleeves are the right length, that it fits in my armpits, that it's long enough to tuck into my pants. I'm just being really honest with all of you. And I get, if you're doing the laundry yourself, you can get a set of 5. I like to rotate colors, but white and light blue are going to be your best bet. No patterns. Patterns look cool until you get on a virtual meeting and it messes up the camera and it makes everyone dizzy. If, like me, you're sending them out to be dry cleaned, because I like my shirts pressed and I don't want to deal with it, get a set of 10. That way, every week you can send them to the dry cleaner. Obviously, these shirts are not free. but they last as soon as they wear out around the collars. Some men wear shirts out faster, depending on your neck. You need to get rid of them. If the sleeves are scuffed, you need to get rid of them. I also, when I'm not meeting with clients, I don't wear a tie. When I meet with clients, I do wear a tie. And when I'm not meeting with clients, I wear these Bluff Work Gramercy pants. They look really nice. They don't wrinkle. You can throw them in the washer and dryer. They don't have to be dry cleaned. So that's my go-to outfit. You can see right now I'm wearing a vest. I love wearing vests. I think it adds a level, but yeah, it's got to be your style. So here's your action items. Go to the store, buy 5 new shirts or 10, depending on how you like to have them laundered, that fit you perfectly. Toss out, send them to the Goodwill or the thrift store, any other, we'll call them work shirts that you're tempted to wear. Maybe this is a polo shirt or it's a shirt that you've had for a long time, but the collar's bad or doesn't fit right. Get rid of those. They're just wasting mental energy and space in your closet. Every single day you're working, wear slacks and a dress shirt. Every single day. There's no exceptions. There's no time for khakis. There's no time for blue jeans. There's no time for polos. There's no time for whatever, flannel shirts, none of that. It's always a dress shirt. Tie is optional if you're meeting with a client. It's slacks and it's a nice pair of shoes. If you're going to Nordstrom's, which having grown up in the Seattle area, they're a local favorite, watch their process. They're incredibly good at helping you find what you want, about checking you out, the ambience, the atmosphere. Be observant of all of these things. And if you are going to Nordstrom's, most of the Nordstroms have a shoe shine station that for like $5 a pair of shoes, you can have your shoes shined. So if I'm ever going to be near a Nordstrom's, I bring a bag of all my shoes, dress shoes, and I have them all shined. Okay. Focus area number 5. Again, if this is seeming like a lot, it's because you got to get a lot done if you want to make a lot of money, if you want to deliver a lot of value. The last one on our list, except for the bonus, is to send 5 personalized notes to 5 clients. The personalized notes can look as easy as this. It's a matter of checking in, letting them know why you were thinking of them. It's not just, hey, thinking of you, why they were thinking of them. A kind of a heads up what's coming next, what we're going to talk about in our next meeting. A note, a personal note from your last meeting. In this example, hey, I hope your trip to Italy was great, whatever that was. And letting them know the next action step. In this case, it was that Colleen, my office manager, will be reaching out to you to schedule our next set of meetings. Always feel free to email with any questions that you have. Which 5 should you send these to? Any 5. Start with the letter A and work your way down. I like to go into the CRM and look to see who it's been the longest since we've contacted. I also like to just ask my team, hey, who needs an extra touch point, right? Or think in my mind wherever I have head trash about a client who might not be keen on our value, where I'm like, I'm not sure our value is there. It's easy to dismiss this as not valuable. It makes a huge difference. So this week in that 2-hour block, send 5 custom messages to 5 clients. Ask your team for recommendations. If you have decent handwriting, handwritten notes go a long way, especially if you can be something personal like a birthday or something about a family member, whatever the case may be. Make sure these are recorded in your CRM. That should be a no-duh thing. Everything should get recorded in the CRM. Also, write their names down on your calendar. Why? Because if you don't write their names down on the calendar, you'll get to the end of the week and you'll say, oh yeah, I did 5. And then we'll look in the CRM and you did 0 or you did 1. So they have to be written down or they didn't count. So to recap, print your physical calendar. Read Viktor Frankl's book. You have 2 weeks to do that. Practice your intro messages for clients and prospects. Dress shirts every single day. 5 notes to 5 clients. And if you really want to crank up your growth, if you're like, Matthew, I want to blow the lid off this thing, here is your growth opportunity. I have, for my entire career, 20 plus years, studied retirement accounts, IRAs, Roths, etc. And I'll confess, I always have gotten tripped up on the multiple 5-year rules for Roth IRAs. There are multiple 5-year rules. The single best explanation I've ever seen for this drawn out is from my good friend, Michael Kitces. Now, is it by accident that he's the best person I've ever seen illustrate this and he's one of the most financially successful advisors I've ever met? No, there's no chance there. That's 100% correlation. He's a master at communicating because of endless practice. Like if you want to go find some videos of Micah at the beginning of his career, he was not always a master of communicating. Trust me, he's a master now. If you are a member of one of our coaching programs, you can watch this video of him explaining it. If you're not, you need to just figure it out. And so Michael Kitces had an article. You can Google Kitces 5-year rules out of 5 or 10 years ago, detailing out the 5-year rules. There's multiple. Write your own 1-page guide. So you remember, like whatever you need to remember to say, hey, if a client does a Roth conversion or they put money in a Roth, when they're going to get that out without penalty. Practice drawing this out. So if I need to explain it to a client, I need to be able to draw it on a piece of paper like Micah did, and then record yourself drawing it out and turn that into 5 pieces of consumer content. Now, even if you're not allowed to do consumer content because of your compliance environment, do it as a blog post, do it as a social media post, do it as a video, do it as whatever. Even if it never gets published, just the act of doing it will make you a phenomenally better advisor. So that, my friends, is a lot. That's 1 week's worth. Next week, I'll do this again, and the week after that, and the week after that, until we get to 52 weeks, which I promise if you're following this, you put the activity in, I've never seen it not work. So here's my last thought for you. And this has been my mantra my entire career. If it were easy, everybody would do it and nobody would get paid, which, my friends, is why there are so few $1 million producers and so many people watching Netflix. All right, until next week, happy planning.